My mantra is, as long as I report golf, it's all on the table. If you throw a club or break a club or do something on the course, whether it's good or bad, that is fair game to me because that is in the work environment and that's on TV anyway, basically. But like, if you told me something about your personal life back at home, to me, that's not fair game.
Welcome back to another episode of Straight Down the Middle-ish. We are joined by a very special guest today. I guess one of our first interview with someone from the media here. We're joined by Evin Priest, a journalist for Golf Digest, and covers the Aussie beat, a little bit of LIV and a little bit of PGA. And we're going to jump right into it with all kinds of rapid-fire questions. And
and a local now.
And I moved down to Ponte Vedra last year. I was in New York, God knows why, for a few years.
Right.
Great place, but just nuts. So happy to be down here on the first coast, northeast Florida.
The first coast.
First
Look at
coast.
him get in there.
He knows all about it.
Well, I'm in the media, First Coast News. That's
Hey,
what it's
are
at.
we? Do you think we're media now?
I do.
Really?
100%.
And you know what makes it official? Is that there is a neon sign on the wall. Once you have that, you are accredited media.
Okay.
So we could really write to tournaments and ask for credentials.
We need to get Uncle Jay to get us a press pass.
You could be in the booth on 16 at Augusta next week, I think.
Yeah. Saddled up with Vern.
Sick.
You just call aces on Sunday.
Scott Lenquist.
Vern's still working this thing, isn't he?
He does, but
Faldo's
I heard a
coming
little.
Jim Nance's final four is this weekend.
This
Is that right? Is he the last one?
He's hanging it up after this
No way.
for the final four.
A little birdie told me
Really?
that Vern Lenquist is not even on property anymore
Really?
at his house.
Oh, he's struggling.
Does anyone have a better March than Jim Nance?
Probably not.
No.
I've had some good marches.
He bleeds into April.
You have, yeah.
Different good.
Um,
Bay Hill into
Bay Hill.
into some betting.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, Evan, you just came up from Orlando. We were talking about
Yep.
your time covering LIV. Let's hear a little bit what that world's like.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's so much different than what you expect or what you've heard and read about. You know, it's kind of like my position was, I don't know if I'm going to love LIV Golf. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. As a reporter, is it interesting? But the main thing is to go there and cover it before criticizing it or pointing out what's good about it. So going there and actually experiencing it. At first, I was like a kid getting dropped off at kindergarten, really I don't know if if this is the right thing. But as soon as I started covering it, I just kind of realized this is still professional golf. It's really competitive. Those guys, as soon as the gun goes off for the shotgun start, they're trying to beat each other. It's entertaining to watch as fans. Every time, I think I've covered 4 or 5 now. And it's cool to watch. Is it the PGA Tour? No. Will it ever be? Probably not.
But the macro is the same.
Yeah.
It's guys teeing off on a tee, going to a hole, trying to win against each other.
Yeah.
Evan, you sound like a real journalist.
What, down the line?
Not part of the story. You're actually going there to cover it. And
Yeah, I don't want to insert myself into it, but it's just some people are just refusing to cover it and some people are just shit canning it. And it's well, if you're going to do that, go and cover it. And then if you still hate it, tee off.
yeah.
But I just wanted to cover a few of them because I'm a golf journalist. I follow golf news. And in a lot of ways, the way the news cycle works, LIV Golf is newsworthy. So this year alone, I've been to Mayakoba there because that's their season opening event. Anytime, it's like the first game of a season. They've got new signings, new things have happened in the off season.
Opening day yesterday.
It's opening day, yeah, baseball. So I wanted to go and cover Mayakoba. And then yesterday was, the last couple of days in Orlando. It's the week before the Masters. They're literally playing the week before Augusta.
So have you covered LIV since the start?
Not since the very start. I didn't go to Centurion outside London. I didn't do Bedminster or anything like that. The first event I covered was Boston. So Cam, bunch of debutants like Cam, Leash, Anaban, Lahiri, etc. And that was probably a good one for me to cover first up because that was one of their best that they've held so far. It was really organic, pure competition. The playoff was awesome. And the fans, outside Boston, it was awesome.
So what's the heartbeat like out there right now compared to where you saw it in Boston to Orlando? Last
Yeah,
this
year
week?
2. How's year 2 looking?
It's kind of it's matured a little bit. It doesn't have that oomph and that buzz about this is the Rebel League that's just in its first season. It's kind of mellowed and matured a little bit into being more of a golf tour, more of a golf league,
but not as loud anymore.
I'm not going to say that, but it's not making as much noise, is what I would say, because it's impossible. That was the disruptor season. That was when they were signing players from the PGA Tour, and now they're signing less of those players and sort of going off and trying to create their own tour as opposed to getting one off the ground.
How's the press room change? Because they came out, it was kind of goofy, asking lots of, silly questions, showing off personality. But, what does that core look like?
It doesn't look like the PGA Tour core media pack, that's for sure. And that's how they want it. They want influencers, they want comedians, they want some serious journalists there too, asking the real questions. And that was something that they had to navigate in the first season. It's like, what do we want to be?
Yeah.
Do we want to be a real press conference and look like a real tour, or do we want to have the comedians making jokes in and amongst the serious questions? And I think the answer was yes. We want to be that. I say we, but I mean they. Like, they want to be different. They don't want it to look like a PGA Tour event or a PGA Tour press conference.
But also, like, you work for Golf Digest, which is a golf publication, not a PGA Tour, not DP World Tour. So you are, essentially forced, or you have to cover both because you're covering golf and it's all golf. Exactly.
Like, we approach it in a certain way where we just respect the news cycle. So if LIV has news, we report it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been Golf Digest's position. Now, I would say at the moment, though, that all the news that comes out of LIV really relates to the greater narrative of golf. There aren't too many LIV only stories that are breaking the mold, like something purely just about the competition or just about a certain player or winning a certain tournament. It's more about, like, how does that relate to the greater scheme, the majors, the PGA Tour, all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of like more big picture stuff.
But that's where I get a bit off on some of the golf fans, not necessarily riders or players, or the people that actually work in the industry, the non-industry people that are so vitriol about, like, one side or the other. Like, it's all golf. You don't like one side, you don't watch it. The passion is, I don't get it. I still don't get it. Like, why are people so anti one side, or just watch it all, and if you don't want to, it doesn't affect 1/1 billionth of your life.
That's kind of just the world we live in now, though, man.
It's weird.
It's one side or the other, no matter what, and anything.
It's polarizing. Yeah. I suppose as humans, like, we're inclined to pick a side, but it's like, it's okay to enjoy watching both tours. It really is. Like, I love the PGA Tour. I grew up watching it, wanting to be involved in it somehow. I got into the storytelling side of the business and really wanted to be on tour and tell the stories of Cam Smith and Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods and everyone. And then a new tour came along, and it's like, well, it's interesting. If I go there and get a few good stories out of it, I'm stoked.
Yeah. Do you have a relationship with Greg at all?
Me personally, not really. No, like, I know him, he knows me. We've known each other for a few years, but I wouldn't say we have a relationship. I would say we have a working agreement. Like, it's kind of like we respect what each other does, and I've interviewed him a bunch of times, but he doesn't know me that well, nor do I.
Do you think his intentions of this tour are genuine, like, from the start? Or
I think, yeah, I do. I think the way to answer that question is, I think they're genuine, laced with business interests. Like, he wants to have a world tour. There's just no doubt about that.
Yeah.
He also sees the commercial value in doing so, and it's kind of those two things mixed together. So it's not like he's doing it just to create this world tour only. He wants to get a league that is self-sufficient off the ground, so that players can get paid, the league can stand on its own 2 feet, and that people will watch it. Whether that happens, that remains to be seen. But at the moment, they're doing well.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that want to see this tour fail, but you also forget there's a lot of people that want to see this tour succeed.
And it'll take care of itself.
Where do you see this thing in year 5?
I think it kind of coexisting, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if they're ever going to get together. I don't know if it would make any sense for the PGA Tour is in a strong position. They don't really have to do anything for LIV.
Yeah.
But I would say eventually they may coexist in windows, because, like, some of those stars, they're massive stars, and, like, I don't know why you wouldn't want them on your tour. Cam Smith, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka.
We talked about it the other day. I mean, those guys, the match play and the players, it was very noticeable.
Yeah.
But not huge noticeable, but
yes, it was.
It's something,
especially
it's
in
like
the back
15,
half.
20% of your pro. It's still enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tour lost a lot of its villains too. I mean, those are the storylines.
They lost every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't one villain on the tour.
And there's value in villains too, as you know, like the Patrick Reed or the Shambo. Like, there's values in you know, either it's made up controversy, it's bringing eyes to the sport and selling sponsorships and all that stuff. So yeah, now there's like no villain at all on the PGA Tour.
I would say
some guy that says shit on air,
Right.
like Tyrrell Hatton is the villain. Like the guy's like the nicest dude.
He's so lovable too.
Yeah, I know, he's like a legend.
It's like no, we
Throw
love
your
that guy.
club. I love it.
And I'd say for a long time, that's what golf lacked. It like that's what separated tennis from golf, was that tennis had like massive villains, you know, quote unquote, Nick Kyrgios, Tsitsipas, all these guys like that like you
but
could.
the Tour doesn't want it.
Yeah,
You
which
do
makes.
something so they give you these fines. And
I'm
they
not
keep,
saying I was ever close to a villain, but
Yeah.
if you just rewind, like, let's just go 8 years ago or 9 years ago, I was probably on the path of maybe being one.
Villain status.
Yeah. And I would get one. I'll never forget this. This pisses me off about the Tour. There's only so many opportunities you get to play with yourself out there. Okay, so you got to play shitty on Saturday, and there has to be an odd number of people that make the cut to go by yourself on Sunday. Well, I'm a fast player. I get that on
Ooh.
Sunday at Greenbrier, which is a
Competition.
great course to break the pace record.
It's like Hilton Head. Tees are close
It's
to the
so
greens.
good. Yeah,
Right.
and it's
No long
flat.
walks.
It's just easy. So, and I got nothing to play for. Like, I mean, 66 on. It's not going to do much for me on Sunday that far back.
Yeah.
So, I'm ready to go. I get out to the first tee, and I have an official come out there and tell me that if I do anything stupid today, I will be fined for conduct unbecoming. Okay, like running. Hold on, timeout. I swear to God, like 2 years later, Wesley Bryan is fucking sprinting around the golf course.
Yeah.
And they're parading it on PGAtour.com and like promoting the story and that kind of stuff. That pisses me off about the tour. Shit
They're
that.
silly. They should, and I feel like there's a couple of guys inside that realize that, but I think the tour is so out of touch, even with some of the tactics they're using in the last couple of years. Like they are so out of touch of what the actual consumer wants. And like I remember John Peterson in the last round of Malaysia ran up and Happy Gilmore. It was so good.
So good.
More of that, please.
But I think he got fined. He hit it in the water, right?
Yeah.
Definitely got fired. He shot 66
He shot,
that
60,
day.
he shot 67, I think. He shot 5 or 6 under. Like, it's not like he's not trying. What is wrong with doing that? I bet you that brought more eyeballs to that. I bet you that brought 20% of the whole eyeballs to,
Right,
to the
but it's also
CIMB.
probably the wrong person doing it. And to Matt's
No, it's
point,
not.
you
He's
have
like
Wesley
Matt.
Bryan doing what Matt wanted to do, and he gets away with it. Like,
You don't want
certain
Wesley Bryan
rules.
doing that. I like Wesley Bryan, but you want someone who's funny and who's a bit, willing to go out on a limb, like a John Peterson or a Matt Everett.
It was kind of like Keith Mitchell at the Players, wasn't it? Like I think he hit his drive in the water hazard right before they.
blew the horn.
If somebody else did that, like
Yeah.
Keith,
It was so
pounded
funny though.
drive.
I
because-
loved
But
it.
the tour took it off. It's great.
Yeah.
He smashed the club, and it doesn't look good. But look, there's a part of golf that you want those people looking at it.
LIV, they have taken pretty much every villain from the tour, but they've also they're helping the tour a little bit too, maybe giving them ideas and stuff like that. I mean, the tour is kind of
bland right now.
well, yeah, but they've also kind of stolen what LIV wanted to do a little bit.
It definitely looks a lot alike, doesn't it?
Yes.
As opposed, but I would say that like LIV can't sit there and say, oh, they copied us, because no cut events with huge purses and exclusive fields, they existed well before LIV.
Yeah, the WGC is like and the whole. That's what I don't get. The tour and LIV like going against each other. We invented that. Like, shut the fuck up. Just put your product out there, promote it, and the consumer will decide.
That's a big thing that I keep coming back to is let the market decide. I was talking to
They
a
will.
top player about that, and it's like, look, we could have a top player on the PGA Tour said to me, like, we could have just backed ourselves and said, go play wherever you want. Good luck to you. Come back as long as you play 15 events a year, and then let the market decide what happens. Now that's a risky move. That's a long-term play. I can understand why the tour wouldn't want to do that long-term play or take a crack at that, because like they're in a strong position and they don't have to take risks. They are the established tour. They've got all the sponsors, all the corporate structure in place, and I don't think they necessarily need to invite LIV into the fold. But like I said before, I can see them coexisting years down the track. Once the dust settled, like any kind of change is disruptive and violent, but like in the end, they will find their own corners of the golf world.
You mentioned sponsors. That's going to be a topic here as you start to see guys like DJ showing up and and FootJoys, and guys starting to play different, drivers if they want. What are you hearing out there from a support side that are the OEMs investing in these LIV players, or they're having to go buy stuff off the rack?
They're like in between those two things.
Yeah.
So they're not like buying stuff. They're not having to go to Dick's Sporting.
Some
No, they're
companies
giving
are,
them
some
stuff,
aren't.
but they've throttled back big time.
Yeah.
Like I know for a fact, some of these big guys out there who've had these, ball deals with certain companies.
Yeah, certain companies
they're
are
still getting balls, but there's no value in
not yet.
not yet.
But
in-
there'll be
know
a
if-
metric to at some point. Like the club companies aren't silly either. Once there's a following or something, they'll jump back on. But that's why we're going to try and get Chris Tootin on here. It'd be great to ask those
Yeah,
questions.
pin them down.
I don't
He
know
ain't
if you've
gonna-
heard the same thing, but to me it seems like, to answer your question, the OEMs have not made their minds up yet. Like, do we want to throw support behind it?
Right.
And who is going to be the first to jump? It's kind of like, it's very interesting to watch.
Because they got to sell. Look, at the end of the day, they sell a lot of clubs in South America, and you would have to think the South American market now is watching as much LIV as Tour. So if they want to sell a tailor-made driver, they're going to have to sponsor some of these kids. But that's why I really want to talk to Tootie. It is so interesting from their perspective. How do you navigate it?
I
It's
think they're doing
uncharted-
what Evan said. They're sitting back and
Uncharted
they're giving
territory.
them their stuff. But when the agents call and say, "Hey, we need to re-up this deal," and they're like, "Well,
No, we don't.
not really on TV anymore," and yeah, we don't really need to re-up this deal.
Yeah.
And you're seeing it too, like they're sponsoring Good and Bob Does Sports now, and instead of some guy in the
And
On the
like
LIV.
influencers, I mean, people were kicking up a huge stink a couple of months ago because like TaylorMade or one of the others was had started sponsoring two Instagram influencers, guys that basically wear joggers and hit stingers, and it's like, if you can do those two things, you can get a deal.
yeah. If you're
So-
if you have a
But
pretty swing,
It's
Yeah,
it's
you're
not a
good to
hard
go.
metric to follow. If they have Instagram 200, 300,000 that are liking all this shit and seeing the advertisement, why wouldn't you?
No, I get
It's
it.
a very basic.
More
metric, I
eyeballs
think.
on Instagram than a Saturday at the
I think more than anything,
Travelers.
Personally, I don't like it because I just hate the direction the world's going in. If that's what we're doing, I mean,
That's a different topic.
you haven't accomplished
So
anything.
let me ask you this then: if you were still if you were playing full time on the PGA Tour, what would you be doing? Do you reckon you would have gone to LIV?
I would have entertained an offer for sure. I think everyone probably entertained an offer. I don't know anyone that was like, you know what,
Yeah.
fuck you, I don't want to
Couple,
hear it.
couple of guys,
Yeah.
but not many.
Well, like that's your job, right? Your job is to make money playing golf.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you're going to listen to anyone who's going to try and help you do your
Like
job.
a Brennan Steele that just went.
Evan,
I can't blame him.
to your point, when
Yeah,
you're saying
no.
about just the people on social media makers, and it's like, oh, guaranteed money, you took the guaranteed money. Find me one CEO of a Fortune 500 company that doesn't take guaranteed money. It's like, oh, I'll just take profit sharing. You don't have to pay me a salary, because the tour doesn't. Now they do. But that's another talking point that was rubbish. The blood money, rubbish. All through your 401k and retirement plans, there's blood money. I just wish that never got used, because it's like American politics, using these taglines which don't exist that have fooled the consumer to stay on for longer than you sell more advertisements. It's so grubby.
I noticed that when I cover LIV events and tweet a link to my article, the amount of engagement you get is so much higher than any PGA Tour event, but negative. Like, people want to shit on your stories. They want to say, why are you covering this blood money tour, or why are you doing this, or and it's just kind of like, you can't really explain to morons out there on Twitter that, like, I follow golf news, I don't really care where it is.
And you would work more on the PGA Tour than you would on LIV, but people don't even take that into account. They go, you're a LIV shill, and it's like, no, I work for Golf Digest, I cover golf. If there was a story about this huge ant population that took over Congressional, I would go and cover it. But like
100% I would.
It's
I'm
fucking
in for that
It's
story.
not hard.
Romance.
How did he get there?
Yeah, I was so
Sorry.
when I covered Boston, which was Cam's debut.
Yeah.
I had driven home from the Tour Championship back down to Ponte Vedra, and the next day on a flight to Boston, cover that, and I'm getting hammered for, you're a LIV shill and you're covering. I was at the Tour Championship last week, the FedEx Cup finale.
Like, where are we in the world?
You're
of these-
allowed to do both.
Yeah, and I'll be at the President's Cup in 3 weeks,
And
which I love.
Is it real journalism if you're not allowed to do both? I mean,
No, I would
right?
say no. You're
No,
not
it's
down the middle, then,
propaganda.
are you?
You're a puppet if you're not allowed to do
But
both.
these mouth
100%.
breathers on Twitter, like, oh my god, how do I? start
Twitter is
Twitter account?
Twitter for me is like the worst ever.
It's like
Yeah,
the trailer
I mean,
park of the
it
world.
is the worst ever. It's got to go, man. That and AI. Let's get AI.
It's
and
the bottom of
Twitter
the
out here.
barrel, you
Yeah.
know, of opinions in
Right,
Well,
society.
there's just anyone can have one, and it might not be like it's a platform for people who probably shouldn't have a platform.
Mm.
All right, do you think journalism is slightly changing in the fact that you're 33, you're youngish for having the responsibilities you have, and you got the Dan Rappaport's young guys, where back when I was playing, Andrew Both was the guy that would interview all the Australians, and no one wanted to talk to him because Jeff Ogilvy or Adam Scott would say one thing and he'd print the bad thing, right? Whereas you have privy to a lot of information of these guys, you become, you would say, friends with them, and there's off the record, on the record, and you play that line to me perfectly. Do you think that that's why journalism is becoming younger? Because people like you and maybe Rappaport or there's Dylan, whatever his name is, they are getting close to the players, but they also know where the line is drawn to like be printed and not be printed.
I like to think that I do a good job of towing that line of like, I'm close to some of the players and I know what they want out there and what they don't. And it's kind of like my mantra is, as long as I report golf, it's all on the table. You know, because like if you throw a club or break a club or do something on the course, whether it's good or bad, that is fair game to me because that is in the work environment and that's on TV anyway,
I like
basically.
that.
But like, if you told me something about your personal life back at home, that's
Right.
to me, that's not fair game.
Right.
If you're sipping out of the Claret Jug and someone farts or something, you're not going to report it. But and also too, I felt the younger journalists like Rappaport did, like you did the chasing majors thing in COVID when there wasn't much shit going on.
This is a podcast backup on that.
A podcast series where, you know, it was 12 episodes.
13, yeah.
13 episodes with Steve Williams
Ooh.
talking about, you know, his life with Tiger Woods. And
Love
then
that guy.
one
He's
of them,
great.
to be honest, I haven't listened to all of them. But
Oh, come on, mate.
you had Adam Scott on, and you were telling me like Adam was just into this podcast.
I thought we
He
were
was
friends.
reliving his win with Steve Williams on the bag at Augusta.
Yeah, so this time last year, so I did 13 episodes with Steve Williams because I just wanted to sit him down and say, let's go through just the golf.
Like you guys were
Yeah,
Skyping or like physically together?
Skyping because
He was in New Zealand.
he was in New Zealand, I was in Australia. We both had separate lockdowns, so it was impossible to go over there. And we just Zoomed every Wednesday night and recorded basically like an hour and 20 minutes of just like major by major that he won with Tiger, and it was just the coolest trip down memory lane I've ever experienced in my life.
bet.
At some points,
It was the number one podcast for several weeks.
yeah, got to number one in the States. It was number one in Australia for a while, not just golf but sports podcasts. And he told so many amazing stories. It just blew my mind. You know, like things like him and Tiger thinking that they were going to die in a helicopter accident in Thailand in 2000, and
Fuck.
you know, like the moment that him and Tiger decided not only the number of majors but when they were going to win 21 majors, and it just blew my mind. Stuff like that, like the 2000 Open at St Andrews.
Yeah.
Tiger used the same tee for 72 holes.
Oh, my, how's that possible?
And
That's
like
Mo Norman shit.
and
Yeah,
because,
it is.
because he
That
didn't
is
break
Mo
it,
Norman stuff.
because he didn't break it, he thought, well, this is a good luck charm.
Yeah.
So he put that tee in his bag for the rest of his career. It probably is still in there.
Wow.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of people that haven't even heard about chasing majors that, like, yeah, that's like the Joe Rogan thing. Like, it's the intimate. You sit someone down, you know, undress them. But obviously, Steve Williams tells stories he's probably never told ever, and maybe never will again.
And
Yeah.
he's a great storyteller.
He's
I've listened to
unbelievable.
the Tory episode.
Oh yeah,
and
2008.
just what Tiger. I mean, how much he wanted to win at Tory is he was obsessive. I didn't know. I mean, you think the guy definitely is a competitor and he wants to win anytime he tees it up, but he obsesses over it.
like from the announcement, I think the announcement that they were going to Tory was 2004, so like 4 years before that major. And apparently he just like wrote it down on his calendar and said, I am winning this thing.
I did that for LA this year. I'm fucking
That's
winning
awesome.
it. I'm winning it.
Are you going to qualify?
All right.
I better.
That's awesome.
Can't win if you don't qualify.
But he was so cool. And then this time last year, we got a bonus episode with Adams because, of course,
Yeah.
Steve Williams was on the bag when Adam won the Masters in 2013. And he actually read the winning putt too, by the way. So I got the two of them. I was with Adam at Bay Hill, where you made your hay, kind of like the Every's Kingdom. So we were
the house that Matt Every built.
The house that Every built, yeah. So it was Adam and I in person, and then Steve dialed in from New Zealand, and it was just like
I bet that was
an
awesome.
hour and a half of just like pinching yourself, Masters gold, like everything from. I didn't realize that when you win the Masters, they literally take your like belongings from the ordinary locker up to the champions locker without you even knowing.
Oh.
And the green jacket's in there, and like you do the dinner with the members, and it's all sorts of crazy shit. And if you get a chance, listen to that podcast. It's Adam Scott and Steve Williams chasing majors. It's gold.
That sounds surreal.
Does Steve in the Tory episode, does he talk about the putt that dove in the edge at the end?
He does, yeah.
I mean, how did that thing go in?
I don't know. Just I think it's
pure will.
Manifested that.
Manifested. He willed that into the hole.
Pure will.
I've never seen someone with the ability to will a putt into the hole. And of all the putts that Tiger willed, that was the willest.
I couldn't agree more.
That was the williest.
That was
Willowest.
Yeah.
Cricket bats, the willowest.
So Aaron said you grew up in the shitty part of Australia. Is that true?
shitty part of Sydney.
Kind of,
shitty
yeah.
part of
It's
Sydney, yeah.
yeah.
All parts of Australia is good.
rough neighborhood in Sydney.
Yeah.
Which I'm proud of. It's called Campbelltown, and it's
But
kind of like
I'm going to be honest, not to share
Campbelltown.
but compared, like rough neighborhoods in Sydney is not like rough neighborhoods in some of the cities in America.
Okay.
no, it's not like the south side of Chicago.
Right.
No, Campbelltown is very nice. Actually, it's just inland.
Instead of
like-
getting shot, you're getting stabbed.
no,
Yeah, it's correct.
Well, instead of being 10 minutes from the beach, you're like 50 minutes from the beach. So you're like got three heads. If you're 50 minutes from the ocean, you're nuts.
And actually, it's fun. No, this means nothing to anyone but myself. But I grew up in a suburb called St Andrews, which I always think like, oh, that's kind of cool that I became a golf journalist and I grew up in St Andrews. So.
Were you a golfer? Did you play golf?
No, I played rugby growing up until I was too small, and then I was just
Rugby
getting
league or rugby union?
union.
Oh,
I
God,
played
one of
rugby
those
league.
guys.
What's the difference?
It's basically a numbers thing and a rules thing. So, rugby union rugby, you call it rugby, is 15 players a side.
It's
Rugby
continuous. There's no stoppage. Rugby league has like 6 downs. You have
Yeah.
6 downs, then you got to like shoot it or punt it or.
And rugby league is a gladiator sport. It's probably
so
the toughest sport in the world.
I have no idea.
Okay, so speaking of St Andrews, obviously you were there covering the Open.
Yeah.
Obviously live in Jacksonville, so you covered Cam Smith a lot. You have a good relationship with him. Were you at that post?
I was.
Post celebration.
That is the greatest night of my life.
Really?
Oh,
In
it's
St.
just-
Andrews.
Yeah, because like just the emotions of it, I was there. I walked all 18 holes with Cam in my new job. But in my old job, I wouldn't have been able to do that because I would have been having to write stories all day. So I walked all 18 holes with him, and then afterwards, I obviously like 6 hours of crazy story writing. I was calling his father, Des, who was back in Australia. Called Jack, his best friend, who's a good friend of mine. To get the reaction, all that sort of stuff. And then after like 5 hours of writing, I messaged him and his agent, and I said, "Oh, where's the party at?" And he said, "Oh, Old Course Hotel. Come along. Your name's on the list." So just that walk, like pitch black, 10 p.m. at night, walking across the 18th fairway at St Andrews, just knowing like I'm going to get really drunk. That was an awesome feeling.
I'm going to drink out of the Claret Jug in about 11 minutes.
Yeah. And it was crazy that like the security was really tight. It was right outside the old Course Hotel, and they were saying, I was like, I'm on the list, and they saw my name on the list, and they said, well, no, someone from the RNA has to escort you up there. And I said, oh, well, shit. So I messaged someone from the RNA. Thankfully, she was able to come down and get me and bring me up. And then it was just kind of like a nondescript party. It was players, caddies, officials, just hanging out, chilling, nothing too wild. INXS blasting.
Oh, nice.
On the speakers, people having a good time.
Tons of Aussies there because a lot of Aussies, like Dimmy was there,
Dimmy was
Scrivener,
there.
Jason, there was a bunch of good
There was
Aussie golfers.
some good South Africans too, like Adam's caddy. Adam Scott was there. His caddy.
Helpful.
Helpful was there. Greg.
I
Harmon.
heard he was very helpful that night.
He was
to
very
our
helpful.
mate Pinner.
Sergio's caddy was there. Pinner had a great time. Like it was. What was cool for me though was the Claret Jug is obviously awesome, but seeing Cam like slap the gold medal, which people forget about, it's mentioned in like the speech. It's like the champion golfer of the year and the winner of the gold medal, Cameron Smith. The gold medal was on his chest, and he was so proud of it. He was just kind of like beaming these like war medals. He'd just gone to battle that day and had these war medals on his chest.
Sick.
So that was cool. And yeah, just drinking out of the Claret Jug the night of an Open, it's something that you'd tell your grandkids about.
I bet.
Yeah, no, I still, you don't take it for granted because it's happening day by day. But I remember the guy I looked up to, Neil Carey, he was so proud that he was at Miranda Pub watching IBF shoot the back 9 in 91. And I'm like, I know the kid on a great level, and I've drank out of the Claret Jug at his house. Sometimes it's a little weird.
Yeah, it's. I was watching the official British Open film for Cam's win the other day, and it kind of hit me that unless he wins it again, he has to give this thing back, and he has developed a relationship with that thing.
Oh,
It's kind of like his
watch him,
newborn.
watch him fucking
Dude, it's
win.
got to be a record
Watch
that
him
people
win.
drank out of that.
And he doesn't want to give it back, man. That's going to be tough. I think he could.
Where's it at this year?
Hoylake.
He said
Liverpool.
he did say when he was in here that it being warm that week had a big. He says if it's cold and windy, he has no chance. Remember him saying that because of where he grew up. He hates playing in
he's
cold
from
and wind.
tropical area, Brisbane.
Yeah, I mean he can though. He's played well in a couple of US Opens that weren't firm and fast, but yeah, it's less ideal than firm and fast.
Yeah, he said it
he's
reminded
hoping-
him of home, and he was able to
Yeah,
capture the.
he's hoping
weather.
for 06 Hoylake, not Rory's Hoylake, where
Yeah.
it was a bit softer and wetter. So if it's firm and fast, he's in the mix.
All
I
right.
can't wait.
Yeah.
So the last major played was that Open, right? We haven't had a major since.
We haven't had a major
Wow,
since.
so
We've
the
got a-
last major one was Cam heading
Mhm.
into Augusta, as we speak, which is next week.
Yeah,
Mhm.
18 LIV Golfers playing in the Masters next week. 6 of those past champions. So
Pricey thinks Scotty Scheffler should be one of the bigger favorites in years past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as this airs, the Masters will already have been run. So let's see if your prediction's right. Like, who do you like? I like the two Scotties, Scotty Scheffler and Adam Scott. We're one favorite, one roughie.
I think Rahm. Well, okay, favorite. I'm going Rahm,
Uh-huh.
and that's like I really think Cam is going to be in one of the last groups.
Yeah, he will.
He can't
His
he
brain.
can't not be. That place is made. It's made for him.
His brain is just
And then
works
Ruffy,
differently.
I'm going Tyrrell Hatton.
Ooh, that
I like that.
He's been playing some really good golf. I think the Players Championship is the big. I love the Players Championship. I'm so in love with the tournament, and it is such a now it's back in March. It's a huge barometer
Yeah.
of like who's going to play well at the Masters, because it's a similar golf course in terms that it requires like extreme creativity. All that it rules out the best players in the world from the
So
pretenders.
Scheffler's a good chance.
Would you say that the Aussies put Sawgrass players up a couple notches? I mean, it feels like y'all's major.
Kind of, yeah, like
A little bit.
I think 5 different Australians have won it.
Yeah,
Maybe, or
Elkington's won it twice. Norman,
Jason
Day,
Adam Scott.
Cam Smith.
all the great
Cam Smith.
Australians, really.
Aussies put the players kind of like just below majors and well above everything else in individual 72-hole stroke play golf.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like when you look at someone like Jason Day or Adam Scott and you think, oh, they haven't won a second major and they really want to. There's kind of this asterisk that they also won the players, which is nearly a major. You know, like if
Has a major field, of course.
and if you can win a players and a major, you're held like your esteem is held above single major winners. I would think.
Yeah.
I like Jason Day in the Masters.
Yeah, he's
Trending.
Can you believe that we could call him a roughie?
That's what I was just
Yeah.
saying. We were saying, yeah, it's hard to call him a sleeper, but I mean, he just got in the field.
But he's not like a 35th guy in the world. He's a former number one, so you know
Yeah.
he has the ability.
You know, he's got the head on his shoulders. I mean, he can do it. That's what worries me about. I want Siwoo to be my sleeper, but it's just the head a little bit kind of worries me a little. The ability is not an issue for that guy, and he could totally do it. He's capable of it, but
He could get into a zone and just shoot 65 every day.
he can win that thing by 7 shots.
Yeah.
Speaking of Augusta, so the journalists go into a draw to play Augusta, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever got your name pulled?
I got drawn out my first year.
Did you
Oh,
really? How
mate.
many people hate
Come
you for
on.
that?
A lot.
Really?
Me.
Can you feel it?
I can feel the hatred. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have haters.
I love
No,
that.
I don't at all.
I might become, if we're journalists and we go, do we get put in the draw? Can we get a press pass? For
Full credit to Augusta. They really look after that. They've always treated the press really well because they recognize that the press really built the hype of the Masters.
Yeah.
The history of the Masters is like basically baseball writers going down to spring training and then driving back up east and they had something to cover along the way, which is South Georgia and
They're on trains.
yeah. What's that?
They were taking trains back to,
Yeah,
to
exactly,
New York
yeah.
from spring training.
And it was
yeah.
like, hey, let's stop off in Augusta and cover this new thing that Bobby Jones has got off the ground. So it's amazing, and as a journalist to be able to play the course, like if you're lucky enough to get drawn out, they literally treat you like a member for the day. That's their mantra. We're going to treat you like a member for the day. So you get exactly an hour from the time you get on the property to the time you tee off, and you can do whatever you want in that hour. You can hit balls in the range. You can go to the pro shop and get Augusta national merchandise. You can go to the Crow's Nest, the Champions.
It's got to be the pre-game dump, but you probably want to do that before the hour because you want to utilize that hour. You don't want to waste 10 minutes of a pre-gamer.
But you know what's funny is
You need to have the coffee a little earlier before that round.
it usually throws your travel plans in disarray because you got a flight booked, and then all of a sudden you're
fuck
getting
that.
like an 11 a.m. tee time,
Yeah.
and you're not going to make your flight in Atlanta. So
You'll figure it out.
I got an Uber. An Uber drove up Magnolia Lane and picked me up with my golf
fuck.
travel bag, and I felt like this big because I'm at the most exclusive course in the world. I'm getting picked up by an Uber, but I was like, you know what? Who gives a fuck? I just
They
played
let an
Augusta.
Uber
Yeah.
down Magnolia Lane.
Yep.
Wow.
That's
You should have.
That-
You
that-
should have.
that's-
You
What
were
a
not
drive for
compelled-
the Uber driver. Are you
Right.
kidding me? Like, I'll take that one.
You wouldn't even need to tip him after that. That's his tip.
It was an amazing day though. It was just so cool seeing
What,
that.
did you keep score?
I did, yeah. I shot 88, which is like, I'm a 7 handicap, but I was blading chips all over.
Who'd you play with?
I played with another member of the Aussie media who was there, a Canadian guy, and I can't remember our fourth.
And
but
so when they draw the names, do they pick the groups?
Yep.
Okay.
They usually stick to international groups and
Are you
American.
paired with
Well,
a member, or do you? Is
No,
it just
just
for-
media. Yeah.
Okay.
Last year, Paul Gow got it right. I guess he was
he got
over
it-
there on some capacity of
So,
media.
so the broadcast side is sort of totally different to the writers. That some of the broadcast, like the networks, get their own slots and they're able to give those tee times out to clients and whatnot. Whereas the writers literally just go into a lottery and get drawn out, and it's truly.
Has there
amazing.
been a rider who's never been selected, but like has been there for a long time?
Yeah, there's a couple.
Who?
I don't want to name him because he's an Aussie, but he doesn't cover it all the time. So in fair play to him,
Okay.
he doesn't come every year. So
But
he-
like Doug Ferguson, he's probably played it before. right?
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All the great writers.
Like,
have
what
played
is-
it.
Give us some golf riders. Like who's a stick? Who's a good golfer? That's
Good-
a journo.
Yeah, there's a fair few of them. Doug Ferguson's a pretty good golfer. He's like a
He
6.
lives here.
He's a local.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a local 5-6 handicap, I would estimate. Dave Shedlowski's a stick. He's an 8 or a 9.
No, but like real good. Come on.
Real good.
Yeah,
like
real good.
like a 1 or a 2.
Like
We know Rappaport 'cause he's always
like Riggs.
talking about it.
Rappaport's really good. He's a +1 or a scratch on any given day.
Well, we all know that.
Did he play in
Toes.
college?
Yeah, I don't think he played. No, he didn't play on the team, but he went to Northwestern.
Oh, okay.
So that's where he met Matt.
I think he hung around him a lot.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. There wasn't Matt Fitzpatrick. Like, didn't he just like have lunch at Northwestern basically?
I think he was
Yeah.
there for
I mean, he was there
literally
for a minute,
semester.
right?
Yeah.
Adam
Yeah.
Scott style. Adam Scott. I think Montgomery. There's been a few that have come over and gone.
I think
Not for me.
Fitz went to college even less than Adam Scott did. I think
Really?
the Adam only did 1 year at UNLV, and then Fitzpatrick literally did a semester at Northwestern, because he was too good. It was like he could make money tomorrow, so he turned pro and left Northwestern. But like golf writers who are good,
Can't have that much fun again though. College is on its own level of.
Dylan DeChair for golf.com was literally a pro.
Yeah.
I think he had a card
Oh,
on
there
the
you go.
on the Canadian tour for 12 months. Didn't keep it, but he can play. He can still play. There's a bunch of scratch riders, but they're kind of all in the background. Some of the equipment guys are really good golfers. I know Jonathan Wall from golf.com is a really good golfer.
Oh yeah,
I
he's
think
good.
he might have shot like 76 or something at Augusta when he got drawn out.
Are you playing the back tees?
No, he playing the members tees, which is 1,000 yards shorter.
Thank God.
But like if you're a bigger
a
guy, who-
long day.
That's a big difference.
it's a huge difference, especially on holes like 11
Yeah, I had a
and
buddy.
the par fives.
I had a buddy that just played there like a month ago. He was
Mm-hmm.
sending pics. I was like, "You better put your fucking phone away, buddy." But
Yeah.
I got an
he-
Australian buddy coming
he-
from my club to play this Sunday.
he said it sucked because they made him play the members tees. And he's like, every hole we were hitting lob wedge into.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah,
yeah,
kind
that's
of.
not the real experience.
Go beat it up.
It's the shots like so 11 you want to have like a long iron or a 7 because your idols have hit 7
Sure.
and 6 under that, and then 13 and 15 if you hit a good drive away and it's a firm day, you're having pitching wedge into 13 and 15.
Yeah.
I had 147 yards into 15. Not that anyone cares about the way I play golf, but I had 147 yards into 15. I was like, kind of want to hit like a 6 iron from the top of the hill.
Yeah, can I go
But-
backwards?
Take a
little
drop.
bit?
What
but-
you should have hit a wedge backwards.
Are you?
Yeah, exactly.
So what day will you go up to Augusta?
I'll go up to Augusta on Saturday, so the Saturday before the Masters. Sunday is always a really good day at Augusta because you get the drive, pitch, and putt, and there's normally some cool stories that come out of that. There was a foster girl that won her age division and then the past champions hand out the awards, so you get some time with Nick Faldo and Bubba and some other guys, and you get like a nice Sunday story to kick the week off. And it's one of those places you want to get there as early as you can.
Yeah,
You're just pumped to get there.
You got the ANWA up there right now. Are there any Aussies in the field? Or any reason to get up there and cover that?
There are 2 Aussies. I wasn't assigned to cover that tournament. We've got a guy there, Todd Leonard, who's a fantastic golf rider from California. He's covering that tournament. There are 2 Aussies. There's a girl who was born in Malaysia but raised in Melbourne, Jeneth Wong. She's technically Aussie.
Did she make the cut?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I was at LIV and sort of like was zeroed in on LIV for a few days, and Justice Bozio, she's a really good amateur as well from Australia.
So we had this discussion yesterday at lunch. So their deal is they play 2 courses that are not, or I guess 1 course, championship
Retreat.
Yeah, championship
for 2 days, and then there's what is it, top 30?
Yeah, top 30 advance.
Yep.
Then they get to play Augusta, but they all get to play a practice round at Augusta.
Yeah.
I think it should be. Look, listen,
You
girls,
got to slam your trunk and get out of here.
it's top 30 or bust. Like that's like part of the
No
deal.
practice round.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know.
It identifies like the next stars of the LPGA Tour, maybe even earlier than you would have been exposed to them.
Mm-hmm.
I covered the first one. I covered the 2019 Women's Amateur, and just watching Cupcho go down the stretch with Maria Farsi, that was like one of the coolest days I've had watching and covering golf, because they were hitting hybrids in the 13. It was like they were just going toe to toe. Jennifer Cupcho came out on top, and now she's a superstar on the LPGA Tour. So
What's that Fossey doing now?
She's on the LPGA Tour as well.
She's doing well.
She's playing well. She's crushes the ball, absolutely smacks the golf ball.
So you're covering Masters storylines for this that you have kind of queued up as you walk in. I mean, go ahead. What do you got?
If you're in the media room, on Tuesday,
Mhm.
and it's Tiger's presser. What's the first question you're gonna ask him?
Well, I suppose the first one is, can you win? That's what all the fans want to know. Like, do you believe that you can
He
win?
can win.
Of course he thinks
Give you a
that.
stock answer on that.
And also so if it's Tuesday morning, you would probably ask him a question about the Champions Dinner 12 hours from now. Like, Tiger, do you think there's any awkwardness going to be in the room?
You're not gonna ask him about his ex?
I have heard.
No, no, I'm not.
You should give him, at least if it comes, give him props on that move. That was a great move. Hey, pack your bags. You're going on holiday.
Tiger, first of all,
A permanent holiday.
First of all, veteran move.
I've been covering a little bit of that, the court case that's before the courts in Florida at the moment. So I've got no comment on that. But if you had the balls to ask that kind of question in the press room at Augusta, like fair play to you.
They'll throw you out.
The Augusta will probably throw
I
you
don't know, but I don't want to find out.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah,
Smart.
But that's I would be asking more golf questions to Tiger, like, do you anticipate any friction in the?
Do you think Tiger is?
The answer
We were
is
talking.
yes.
We were talking about this the other day, Pricey and I. Do you think he is second fiddle this year? Like usually the Masters, if Tiger withdraws like a month before, it's a blow to them.
Yeah.
Like everything, ticket brokers, you name it, everything just goes down a little bit. If Tiger were not playing this year, do you still?
I think he's
It's
second.
almost second
important.
fiddle this year a little bit. First time in his life it's like that because
Good point.
of the live and tour thing.
I would say we're kind of at the point now where we've learned to cope without Tiger Woods in terms of like generating interest for golf tournaments. And that sucks to say that because I'm the biggest Tiger fan on the planet. But I think, 2015-ish, before his kind of last comeback, people had no idea how to hype golf tournaments without Tiger Woods in them. And
Right.
it was tough. Like tournaments that he would normally dominate, Bay Hill, the players like Masters, you struggled to hype those events in a way because Rory and Jordan were starting to mature, starting to hit their straps. But now it's kind of like there are enough storylines where if Tiger Woods doesn't play the Masters, yes, that'll suck, but the golf tournament will go on.
And the whole LIV Tour thing, it's probably not going to be here by the British Open. It's going to be the fourth major, but the first one, it is big, and it's Augusta.
Yeah.
Like Augusta was basically the talk inside the locker room is, we see the RNA, the USGA, and the USPGA probably going to let the guys play. Augusta National doesn't answer to anyone. There's no association. There's no members. They just do what they want to do.
Yep.
So if there was one major that could have said, you know what, we're going to do our own thing, and if you're on the LIV, you can't play. Well, they didn't. So now they're playing, and it's
a good point you make though, because for once Tiger isn't the biggest storyline. It's a huge storyline, but it's not the biggest. The biggest storyline is 18 LIV golfers coming and playing the Masters.
Yeah.
How is that going to go? Is there going to be any friction? And can one of them win? And do they need to win to establish more legitimacy for their tour?
Yeah, I hear you. It was cool too yesterday. You know, those pairings come out and you see them and you're like, oh,
That's fake news.
those weren't pairings.
Pretty sure that's fake news.
Fuck.
They won't do those till Tuesday of the Masters.
Fake news.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me that?
I was just looking it up. Sorry.
But hey, this is
Just
going to
like
air
walk right
after the
into that.
Masters.
Just let me run with it.
This is going to air after the Masters. What happens if Tiger wins? And we're just talking about this, and we weren't talking about Tiger winning.
I will never be happier to eat my own words.
Yeah.
I think he can win. I wouldn't.
All right,
bet
you
on
guys
The
are going
par
to get
three.
to this INXS topic.
it. Yeah,
Oh yeah, INXS.
Two
So,
big INXS fans.
I'm a big one. Do you want me to tell you my INXS story?
Please do.
Okay.
I love INXS.
It's probably not as cool as yours. All right, so I love INXS too. Michael Hutchins for me is up here.
Rock,
if
rock
you had,
God.
if your second child was a boy, it's probably going to be called Michael.
Probably, yeah,
Right? All right.
Yeah.
First child was Liam,
yeah,
after Liam Gallagher.
yeah. I wanted to name my daughter Noelle because of Noel, but Danielle wasn't having it. So, all right, Michael Hutchins. So I just watched this documentary on his death. Okay,
Yep.
and we were at Sony one year, and you know Shannon Wallace, Big Shannon.
Yeah, Big Shannon.
Yeah,
Yep.
Aussie caddy.
Yep.
He's on the putting green, and I go up and we're just shooting the shit, and I'm like, dude, I watched this thing last night on Michael Hutchins, and we're talking. Well, Shannon was caddying for Allenby, and
Right.
this is before
Not the Allenby week, different year.
the Allenby week.
Right.
That was
Maybe a couple,
that was Mick Middleman. that
maybe
week.
1 or 2
caddying.
years before. Okay, and Allenby hears us talking about this, and he goes, "Oh, mate," he goes, "I was with him at the bar the night he left and went to his hotel to hang himself. I have his lighter that he had at the bar."
What?
So I was like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Come on. I mean, come on. I just watched this documentary and there's like people, you know, they talk about the people with him at the bar.
Yeah.
Like, it was bizarre, but that's my
I thought
story.
it was, well, so my understanding
Maybe the air in Hawaii, it's like some sort of allergy stuff for Robert Allenby.
Maybe.
It just doesn't agree with him. I don't know. Just going out there and
did
saying
he
something.
did he show photos or did he have any proof of the lighter?
No.
He lost it. He
immediately
lost it
was
the next day.
I immediately, yeah.
I would say that, well, from my understanding was that Michael Hutchins, like really good friends, they were a couple. They were the only ones with him that night.
That's what
yeah.
yes.
Hold on, you should know because
So my dad was a police officer for 20 years
Okay.
in Sydney and has the police report.
Really?
I've seen a copy of the police report of his death.
So do you think do you think he hung himself, or do you think he was just getting carried away in a sex act and pushed it a little too far?
I think a bit of both. If that I don't mean to sit on the fence here, but I think he was that
there's
into it.
no way he was trying to take his life. No way.
He was so well sexed that he had to, you know, revert to erotic
for other
asphyxiation.
That's it.
Yes,
I do know that he had an emotional call with
Paula.
Paula and Bob Geldof that
Yeah.
night, and his agent was in New York.
That's drugs.
His agent was in New York, I believe, and was like had let him know that, hey, you're going to be in a movie. Like, I've actually landed you a role in a movie. And he was like all excited about that. And then somehow that got into calling back to the UK and Bob Geldof and whatnot. And he wanted I believe he wanted the daughter to come out to Australia and basically live there.
Yeah, Tiger Lily.
Yeah. And they said, there's no way Tiger Lily's going to come to Australia. And
Heavenly Harana.
Heavenly Harana, Tiger Lily.
so, but I still, from my knowledge or my memory of reading the police report was, it was still up in the air. Like the jury was still out how he actually died, or whether it was intentional, whether it was just erotic asphyxiation, as you mentioned. But it's just like, it's rock history. Like, it's fascinating stuff.
It's fascinating to me too, man. I mean,
He was a god. Have you ever seen it's like a 4-part drama series?
That's great.
I've seen them all.
You seen him?
Oh, yeah.
The Australian one?
the
Like
guy,
a-
the
yeah.
I've
Aussie
seen them
one.
all.
The guy that played Michael was bang on. He looked so much like him.
I got.
Okay, top three INXS songs.
Hold on, I got. Hold on, I got to
Oh.
do my little INXS story, which is not cool, but Kurt Pengilly, Grant Buchanan, who you know, one night was
Kurt
like he was
Pengilly, right?
hanging out with this chick, friends with Lane B. She's like, hey, New Year's Eve, I was sitting on my couch in Australia doing nothing. He's like, do you want to go to the North Shore to Kurt Pengilly? That's it, right? Kirk Pengilly. And I was like, I'm too tired. So Grant spent a night with him just hanging out, shooting the shit one New Year's Eve.
I would love to pick his brains. Just
I could have gone. I was just literally sat on my couch, went to bed at 10 p.m.
Oh, my top 3 INXS songs. By My Side, number
Okay.
1. Beautiful Girl, number 2.
Yeah.
and never tear us apart.
Oh, she's romantic over
Yeah,
here.
I'm a bit of a romantic. There's so many. Like my girlfriend will tell you, I've always got that on in the car because I'm a bit young for that, for INXS, but my parents brought me up on it. My parents
Yeah.
were huge INXS fans. So
Need You Tonight, that's my top.
Need You Tonight's a cracker.
I think
Yeah.
Disappear is up there for me.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
number one will be The One Thing. I fucking that's a
Oh.
moody ass song. I love it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When do you play that?
All the time. I was playing it when I was walking in here today.
Would you practice to INXS?
All the
Hell
time.
yeah.
All the time. Pretty much INXS and Oasis. Is
An
like-
excess kick, like if you didn't have that back in middle school. I mean,
Describe
what's wrong with you?
your.
And New Sensation is of just.
I was about to
You
say. New
can't be in a
Sensation.
bad mood after you listen to New Sensation.
You feel like you have a new lease on life.
Mm-hmm.
Were you into it when because you're a couple of years younger than me? So
No,
they
I
were-
wasn't into it young.
I was gonna say,
got
that was
into
I
it
was like
probably
6 or 7.
college or after a little
Okay.
after.
It's
Yeah.
middle school for me.
Who got you into INXS?
Myself.
You just discovered them.
Yeah.
The mall, walking
I was-
around the mall and
No, I
seeing
just was
record
a-
shops having that. It was like sick graphics. You're like, oh, you get drawn into it.
I'm drawn to charisma, and that guy fucking oozed it.
Have you
I
heard of a
mean-
band called Gang of Youths?
No,
You-
you,
you
heard
need-
of the DMAs?
I love DMAs.
Me too.
Liam Gallagher loves
I
them.
know he does. Yeah.
They're really cool. They're also from Sydney, not like from where I'm from or Pricey, but a different part of Sydney. There's another band from Sydney called Gang of Youths. They now live in the UK. They are, in my opinion, the best band in the world. He has the way he goes about a stage. He has Michael Hutchins' charisma.
You know who has Michael Hutchins' charisma is Matt Healy from 1975. Have you seen them?
No,
Really good.
I haven't seen, but I know the music.
Yeah, really good.
trust me. Listen to "Go Farther and Lightness," the album by
Yeah.
Gang of Youths,
I'm gonna listen to it after this.
I just wrote it
and,
down.
pretty
and thank me
passionate.
later. Thank me
Okay.
later.
I'll listen to you.
Very confident.
Oh, I've just
Could
got,
you imagine being just? I mean, that guy had the pick of the litter. Kylie Minogue. He was like, "Pfft, beat it.
that docuseries where it's like she's cast in that and they fall in love. You just like, because apparently he walked up to her and said, "I don't know whether to have sex with you or take you to lunch." That's not.
Nice to meet you.
I'm not condoning that behavior
Right.
towards women whatsoever, but I'm just saying that
That
Rock-
might go down.
always take him to
Absolute
lunch
rock star.
first. Yes.
urban legend has it that he walked up and said that to her.
But that might go down a little differently if you're not Michael Hutchins.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
If you're Evin Priest and you do that to some chick at I don't know, at the Sydney Wharf, you might end up in jail.
Yeah, I
Or-
can't add that to the list that things that I can't pull off that Michael Hutchins can,
Yeah.
which is a long list.
One of 12 billion.
Yeah.
He's the first one to ever sell out Wembley Stadium.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
INXS. Yeah.
It's
I'm
like they were
look
the
that up.
Coldplay of the 80s and 90s. Like it's kind of, they were the biggest band in the world. They were getting mobbed at airports, like when rock stars were rock stars. And
But dude, you take away Michael Hutchins and they're just.
Would,
they're
honestly,
still
that's,
crazy musicians.
I
Like,
know
They were, but 100%.
For a
You watch
front
the
man-
docu-series, the Ferris brothers and that, they're pretty like dorky guys. Like they're not, like Hutchins is on another planet.
That's exactly the vibe I've always gotten.
Yeah.
It's like this guy's like the coolest guy in the world, and these guys just are filler.
Is,
Kinda.
is it,
But they were sort of the musical brains behind it, clearly,
Yeah.
right? Like they were
is it
talented.
Kirk? Kirk was the wrote all the music and all the riffs and stuff.
Yeah,
I think the
guy
Ferris
with
brothers did the
the two
keyboard
brothers.
stuff.
Oh, sorry, Andrew Ferris was the genius. Was he wrote all the riffs, right? Yeah.
God, I
Crazy.
just have Devil inside my head now all of a sudden. And
Disappear is a great one. Was it you that brought that
Yeah.
up? Or?
yeah,
Me,
Yeah.
disappear.
Disappear
Oh, what about
is-
Change?
Don't change for you.
That's probably my
That's
sneaky
right.
favorite.
Yeah.
Is there any NXS being rocked out on the LIV tour?
They should on the
not
range.
that I've heard.
How do the Aussies not have NXS going?
They're
out
not
there?
taking requests out there yet.
No,
I will say
They
that
should.
Cam had INXS playing at the Open Championship after party.
love that.
Yeah.
It's in my story that I wrote.
Cold
was-
Chisel.
I think it was New Sensation was playing. I distinctly remember New Sensation playing in the speakers.
Penner didn't have any fun that night, did he?
Nah.
I got a couple more LIV questions before we get you out.
Sure.
Any, you're really close to it. Are you hearing anything about any changes they want to make as far as expanding the field, adding another round to their event, and any names that are starting to bubble up that are, rumored to be coming to LIV?
I don't think so. I have not heard any more players coming across this
Yeah.
year. I think they've kind of got their 48 that they're happy with, and they're going to go with that. they do have the flexibility because of the shotgun start and the format to go to 15 teams, and they haven't shut the door on that. But like they're not entertaining that at the moment. I think it would require an influx of big stars for them to expand to 15 teams. They are one of the things that I heard from an official, which is interesting, is that they are open to having a cut if it meant that they got world ranking points.
Yeah.
That like they've got no current plans for that, but they would entertain that if it meant that they got points.
As far as bringing like other players' names dropping and stuff like that, we're probably past that point. I think if anything, we're going to see it's going to be just young guys, like guys out of college.
Right.
Yeah.
The feeder tour.
Those are going to be the new names. Like this last little wave of like Brennan Steele, Danny Lee. Was there another one?
Thomas Peters.
Thomas Peters.
Yeah.
I mean, you might see a couple of guys in that kind of,
age group.
Yeah. Yes. But I don't think you're going to see any like world beaters moving over.
I don't think so. No,
Mhm.
no. But in some ways that's more devastating to some of the other tours if they're going after amateur world number ones and college stars like that.
I'd poach
yeah.
Corn Ferry. I'd really study the guys that are coming up through Corn Ferry.
Yeah, I mean because they can play and they're going to make a bunch of birdies.
The college thing though is big. If you're snagging like the dude from Arizona State.
Yeah, he's a superstar. Andy Ogletree's a big one too. He can play.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
I'm sure he can, but to me, I'll never know how good Andy Ogletree is because I don't really get to compare it to like. Does that make sense? That's what's weird to me about LIV. These young guys going, even the Chikara guy, like how we're never gonna know how good that guy is, dude. Because you're playing against 48 guys every week. That's my deal out there.
Fair.
Yeah.
And same with Andy Ogletree. Like, I'm always gonna judge guy like this guy's guy. 3 wins on the PGA Tour. Hell yeah, he can play. Hell yeah. But 48 guys, dude. If you just catch a hot week, you can finish in the top 5 easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, make a lot of money. You make a solid point. It's the guys that have gone there have already achieved a lot in the game, but the guys who are coming there out of college, that'd be a tough decision to make. Like, do I take quick money and learn from some of the best players in the world, get to play rounds with Sergio and all that sort of stuff without having to go through the rigmarole of
maybe some of the others, maybe not Sergio,
Cam Smith, Brooks Koepka. But yeah, no, I'm with you. Like,
just kidding.
How will we ever know how good they are?
Yeah,
We know they can play, but like we can't look at their resume and say, yeah, you won 3 times in the PGA, you won twice at Bay Hill.
you're whatever in the world. Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, it's just
You won at Pumpkin Ridge. You won.
That's
at
why I guess
Orlando.
the maybe playing devil's advocate with my own stuff. Maybe that's why people are upset because they can't judge anymore. They want them all to play together selfishly, but it'll work out.
I think so. I think they'll occupy their different corners of the golf world.
Yeah, it's a different sort of
coexist.
segment. It's more like an exhibition style. It's still competitive, but it's more like the Formula One or the horse racing back home.
they have poached like a bunch of the recent U.S. amateur champions. LIV has.
Oh yeah.
Do you think
James
a
Plyer.
LIV golfer needs to win a major
Yes.
this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think there's
That'd be
2 that
interesting.
could win. I think Dustin and Cam are the 2 that could win.
Ticket
week.
sales are up like 20% from
At-
last year, 20 to 25%.
Where?
At the Masters.
What do you mean up? Are they never just like?
No,
Sold
that's
out?
the storyline. LIV versus PGA. This is the first
it is. Like,
major.
so-
You mean the worth on like the street market
Yeah,
value is
yeah.
up 20% or
25%, yeah.
Yeah.
Or what? So obviously there's people with badges that you can tell them to wholesale and wholesale sells them. They're not supposed to, but it's 25% more they got at a wholesale value.
Wow. So a weekly badge is like what, $8,000 probably on the street.
Something
I
like that.
think so.
10
Yeah,
grand.
think about that much.
Damn.
It's a lot.
It
of
was
money.
only like 3 or 4 years ago. It was like half that.
Yeah, I remember
think.
when Tiger wasn't playing.
To your point.
True.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be a great Masters though. Like, can we dream of like a LIV PGA Tour Sunday final pairing?
We can, and it's almost like if it's I think all of us here would love to see Cam win, or we would all love to see Cam win, but Cam isn't a villain. If it was like Patrick Reed versus Rory, down the stretch. Could you fucking imagine
the
that?
eyeballs on that?
Oh my God.
And so in the golf business, this is an entertainment, right? Wouldn't the PGA Tour see that there's something to
It's
this
great.
when these guys goes against each other? Let's have an event. I mean,
Well, look at Dubai earlier this year. Reed versus Rory was unbelievable viewing.
Right.
It was must watch, and
on
Dubai,
the range even.
Yeah, on the range was interesting. The Dubai Desert Classic is a great event, but I don't think it's must watch television in golf. That Sunday was just epic.
Yeah.
Absolutely epic.
Epic too, because of what happened the day before, you know, which is what you get with Patrick Reed. I mean, that's just, it comes with it. We'll see. We will
Awesome.
see.
Man, I think we just jabbed for a good hour and change. That was a lot of fun, man.
Thanks,
was
Evan.
fun.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me on,
man.
guys. Thanks for having me in this golf museum.